I'll just check it works. Okay. Not so long ago, I was invited by TED to come here and talk about a photo project I did in 2005 called the Thought Project. As part of this project, I stopped 150 people in the streets of Copenhagen and New York and asked each of them the same question. What were you thinking about the second before I stopped you? I recorded the answers I got and then took a picture of the persons I stopped and put the final result up on my website. Thinking about the invitation from TED, I came to realize that instead of talking about a photo project that was 6 years old, I found it much more challenging to talk about a project I began 2 years back. In the course of 148 days, I have taken 110,000 portraits of people in front of a supermarket in Copenhagen, in Denmark. And the curious thing about this project is that I still don't know what it's about. To those people who stop and ask me on the street, what are you doing? I tend to tell them that I'm in the middle or in the process of making a visual analysis of the Danish culture. I've decided to give this talk the bold title, "The Purpose of Life is to Evolve," both because I find this statement to be the ultimate truth. The purpose of life is to evolve. And because it's the only way I can justify making a project and spending so much time working on a project that may not lead to any fixed conclusions. In this talk, I will discuss how drawing conclusions too early in the creative process can kill a project, and how embracing the unknown is our only ability to create something new. So in April 2010, I sat down on a bike rail in front of a supermarket in Copenhagen on Vesterbro and started taking more or less randomly photographs of people walking towards and away from the camera. I did it because I wanted to document a tendency within the Danish culture that I couldn't quite understand. We are a very privileged people, the Danes. We have a great welfare system. Our refrigerators are full. If we want to get an education, we can get one for free and even be paid by the government for taking one. If I fall ill, I will go to the hospital and be treated at no cost. Mothers working in the public sector can get up to 12 months paid maternity leave. All of our roads are paved. We are just so basically very, very well off and lucky. And yet at the same time, when we walk alone in the street, we tend to look rather miserable, sad, lost, and dissatisfied, as if life were a great burden that it's very hard for us to bear. And so the images I'll show you now are images that I have taken during 2010 of this cultural phenomenon. Okay. Studies are showing that 450,000 Danes out of a population of 6 million, that is 1 in every 12th person, is taking antidepressive medicine. That is an increase by 40% during the last 3 years. Other studies are showing that up to 500,000 of us are feeling lonely occasionally or rather frequently, either because we are spending too much time in our own company or because we find it very difficult to relate to and interact with other people. So it's very tempting for me to draw a conclusion here and to suggest that the reason for our seemingly increasing existential dissatisfaction is that we are not really living for any higher purpose than to pursue our own happiness. And roughly speaking, this idea could be seen as a somewhat truthful conclusion. We seem to be more concerned with surviving and having fun than with thinking about how we can actively engage in the life process and to move culture forward. And the way I see it, such a personal orientation in relationship to life is bound to make us feel unhappy. So this conclusion would be an easy one to make, and I could end the project here and exhibit it, and then that would be that. But seeing so many thousands of people walking through the lens of my camera, it also became obvious, and I was sort of forced to acknowledge that we Danes are more than just the sad sum of our narcissistic tendencies. This series of images of this old lady may seem to suggest that. So we are also full of life, of juice, and of unself-conscious joy. And realizing this made me want to continue this project. So I started to gradually notice a lot of different tendencies while I was shooting away. Tendencies that spoke about the culture that I'm a part of. And I'd like to show you 3 examples of tendencies I found. I don't want to draw any conclusions about them. We heard what the color of black or how that could be interpreted, why we are wearing black or what we associate with black in the Danish culture. That would be the funeral. But I'll let it up to you to decide what you are going to see means. So 3 examples of tendencies. The first one is that we Danes tend to wear a lot of black. Another tendency is that primarily women also tend to wear black, but they are spicing it up with a scarf that is either pink, red, or orange. I wonder if it's the same here in Norway. So you get the picture. And the last of the three tendencies is that primarily men, young men, wear animals on their shirts in the form of prints or animals in the form of tattoos on their bodies. A dog, bears, small bears, a cow, a fish. Oh, there was a woman. A leopard, a dinosaur, rhinoceros, a wolf, a dog, a tiger, and a woman. Butterflies, and a spider, and some birds, and a zebra, and a tiger, and a duck, and then the whole arsenal from Disney cartoons, and on his arm, a wolf. Seagulls, fox, oh, tiger, no, lion, spider. That's another phenomenon I'm just becoming aware of now, that the tigers, they are returning into to the public domain again and again. Octopus, eagle, dog, deer, monkey, oh, woman, sheep, lion, pigeon, bear, bird, wolf. Okay. And seeing so many weird tendencies within the Danish culture, the question remained, what am I getting at? What am I supposed to do with all this material? And I discovered that I'm not really that keen on drawing conclusions as to the meaning behind the tendencies that I'm finding. I'm much more interested in keeping this project alive and to keep shooting like an apple tree in the backyard. 2 years ago, I became a member of an TEDxNHH, a worldwide non-profit organization that is working for the evolution of consciousness and culture. In TEDxNHH, everything we do is about evolving for the benefit of the whole. And if you want to evolve, you have to learn to let go of all the structures and habits that we are carrying in order to embrace that which is new. We learn to do that in meditation. And discovering or trying to develop this project that I've been speaking about now for some time, I have stumbled upon a number of images that somehow seem to express the profound liberation that is the deepest part of us, and which I have found in meditation, and we can all find in meditation if we sit down and have some discipline. And I want to show you these 15 images, not because I think that they are going to take over the whole project and become the project, but because it's a sidetrack and one that may inform the project altogether. And then the last project I'd like to, or the last bit on this project I'd like to show you is not really a series of images, but rather a method with which I've been working on this project for the whole time. As I said, I have taken 110,000 portraits of people in the streets of Copenhagen in front of this supermarket, and I have started from the get-go to use a program called Picasa, in which it has a facial recognition feature. And what I have done is to load all these images into the program and started renaming all of the people that I have photographed. And which is not quite true. Well, I have started to do it, but I've only renamed or given 6,000 people a name. And this is an example of a name. His name is D51, and he occurs quite frequently. So when I load a picture of him into the system in Picasa, a number of images will come up, and I will be asked, is the person you're looking at here number D51? And I can click no or yes, and if I click yes, something happens. All the pictures that I have unconsciously taken during that last 2 years or 1.5 years will come up, and I recognize that I have been shooting this guy so many times without knowing it. And drawing on the conclusion that I don't want to draw any conclusions, I cannot really say which direction this way of working will lead me in. But I tend to find it quite fascinating the idea that if I rename or give D51 a name, then a lot of pictures will come up with other people that I have also shot quite a lot of times, and so many of the people that I have shot and which I recognize and which shop in the same supermarket without knowing it, they are popping up in the same picture, like these two persons here. So you can see on this image how many images I've got of him, and then you can start looking through the material and see what shirts he wears and form an idea of what kind of human being he is. So here's another person, and I'll just quickly browse through images of a couple of persons that have appeared in the material. So the project really started as a diagnosis on a problem in the Danish culture, our tendency towards narcissism. But giving a diagnosis is not enough. It's not really liberating or a happy statement, and I don't intend to keep it at that. So this project seems to be speaking to me and trying to convince me to go in a more liberating direction and giving me answers that would somehow point to a future or a possibility or an opening that that just seems to be saying yes rather than no. And what that is, I don't know, but I know one thing, and that is that during the last couple of years I have been trying to make manifest or somehow cultivate the perspective that we are all one. It's very, very difficult for me to not think of myself as a separate identity, as a separate individual that is standing outside of society, looking at a society that is not a part of me. I'm separate, I'm unique, I'm a superhuman. But what does it take to actually, in all conversations we have, to cultivate the perspective where we kind of know that the person we're standing next to or in front of is a part of this huge family, and what would the consequence be? That is something I want to spend the rest of my life trying to cultivate and to get this perspective to be part of my bloodstream. And I hope that this project, without drawing any conclusions, will end on that note. Thank you.